Hello, welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Smash the like button if you love me. Please do smash that like button. If you love me, I know you do. Subscribe if you're new. Please have your say. A very warm welcome to Sunday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. Let's read some of these comments. James a crap. Near Kirby, the son of Jack Kirby, bashed the Stan Lee documentary. And I don't blame him. The same person that praised Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. Good guy. James a crap. So what happens next? I'm not Nostradamus. McRib Prime. WBD are now in 49 billion debt, not million, but billion, following the car crash of The Flash. Can't wait for the stock market to open tomorrow morning, lol. Hunter Jolly. Hey, Mick, how's it going? Cool. Saw Flash for the second time today. I absolutely love it. That's brilliant. What would you rate it out of 10? I'm going to give it 6 or a 7. I think I'm going to give it 6 out of 10, my friend. McRib Prime, I'm here just waiting for the Transformers to start. 30 minutes. Wow. Hope you enjoy it. James a crap. Warner Brothers Discovery are going to go bankrupt. So, welcome to Sunday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. Everyone is asking what went wrong with the DC Extended Universe. You're going to get a lot of smart asses over on Twitter, YouTube, trying to explain that to you, and every which one of them will be wrong. But don't you worry, Mick is a more balanced guy. Mick has all the answers for you here on the DC Universe Daily, here on the best platform on the internet, Movies TV Mad. McRib Prime, emergency meeting at WBD, Tuesday, lol. Also, they're very, very famous for, after a disaster, trying to distract the public. Their latest tactic is to get Boris Kitt at the Hollywood Reporter to spread word, leak the news that they were doing yesterday, these castings, these auditions for Superman Legacy. Nothing but a distraction. Oh, we were always planning to do a Blue Beetle trilogy. Oh, Blue Beetle's definitely part of the new plans, all part of the distraction. Don't look at the car crash over there, look at the future over here. So what exactly went wrong with the DCEU? The DCEU started with, three titans and pioneers of the industry. Laugh as much as you like. Zack Snyder, Christopher Nolan, and David S. Goyer. Goyer had the idea of doing an alien invasion, First Contact Superman story. A bloody good idea. That film only made $650 million at the global box office, so they panicked and they decided, the studio, not Snyder, to basically say bye-bye to David Goyer, bye-bye to Christopher Nolan, and basically leave the baby on Zack Snyder's hands. The mother's gone and, Snyder's left holding the baby. We want a WWF, WWE, Batman versus Superman brawl movie. This should make us $2 billion. From the moment they started interfering, from the moment these companies interfere with the creative process, there's a problem. Because the original idea was to do a direct sequel to Man of Steel, just like Favreau did a direct sequel to Iron Man, Iron Man 2. That was the original plan. And so many people will tell you that what the DCEU should have done from the start is have 5 or 6 solo movies and do a Justice League movie. Do exactly what the MCU did. The problem is the DCEU was always going to be the MCU's ugly sister. Man of Steel was released 1 year after, at the time, the most successful CBN, Avengers. From the moment the Avengers movie was released, the MCU were the darling of the CBM fans. And it was always going to be very difficult for DC to deliver a franchise that was going to be as loved as that. I don't believe copying Marvel and doing 5 or 6 solo movies before a team-up movie was going to work. All that would have happened was the audience would have said, "You're copying Marvel. You're just an inferior copycat." And that's the accusations that would have happened. What Snyder, Goyer, and Nolan were attempting to do with the DCEU via Man of Steel is create an alternative to the MCU. This was the right play, and the studio panicked instead of being patient. And if they were patient, the positive consequences eventually would have come flooding in. They've always been a studio of auteurs, of, giving the artists the freedom they need and deserve. Disney were doing something else. Marvel were doing something else, and it was working for them. But copying them would have been a big mistake. Snyder was right to go down the direction he was going in. He was creating an alternative, and all that was needed was patience. But all WB cared about at the time and now under Zaslav is to make as much money as possible. It's not about the art. It's not about the freedom of expression. All of a sudden, Warner Brothers isn't a place for auteurs, for artists, for visionaries. It's a place for making money. And the more they panic to make money, the more mistakes they made. From the moment they cut half an hour out of BVS, we had a problem. But it goes deeper than that. From the moment they decided the Man of Steel sequel should be a WWF, WWE brawl between Batman and Superman, they were fucked. Then after the divisive reaction to that movie, they basically got Jeff Johns to rewrite Suicide Squad and forced poor David Ayer to reshoot his movie. From the moment they made these decisions and they tried to push Snyder out, this is when their problems began. John, hey Mick. James a crap. Hello, John, by the way. James a crap. My review, Aaron Fisher, 4K and Strong on Fix are not going to be happy with WBD and James Gunn. It's about more than James Gunn, my friend. That's what I'm trying to explain. McRib Prime, make money, lol. How when they have lost money on pretty much every movie for 2 years, with exception to Evil Dead Rises, lol. And Evil Dead Rises profit margin isn't that big anyway. It's nothing to crow about, like, Access Media and WB are attempting to do. But let's focus on the case at hand. What went wrong with the DCEU? It was corporate meddling that destroyed the DCEU. I repeat, copying the MCU and doing 5 or 6 solo movies before a team-up would have just had the accusation of copying what they were doing, and DC would have just been seen as an inferior copy. That's why Zack didn't do that. That was the point. He was creating an alternative to the MCU. And I'll repeat, that was the right decision to make. So what happened was they kept on interfering from BVS, interfering. Then we had the car crash of Justice League. By some miracle, Aquaman made $1 billion. Maybe they were lying about that movie's box office, because that movie's box office doesn't really make sense. Even Jason Momoa a few months ago commented that he was shocked about that box office because no other film has made $1 billion. They were under such pressure. Could they have been making that figure up? I think so. But we're going to have to trust Warner Brothers' word that Aquaman did make $1 billion. Waz 007, hi Mick, Waz 007, what happens if Aquaman 2 flopped? As I said to the other guy, James a crap, I'm not Nostradamus. I can't tell you. But Rip Prime, and we all loved it. But Ann Sarnoff and Toby Emmerich had brain failure, so they burned their own projects. So panic stations, because all they cared about was making money from these projects, keeping up with the Joneses, aka the MCU. So you're going to get a lot of people blaming James Gunn, blaming this one, saying it was Jeeves in the office with the candlestick holder. Right, I'm giving you the passive answers, the real answers, the answers that are made by someone who doesn't really have any agendas. We've driven Snyder out. We went to Johnson Berg. We went to Hamada. None of it has worked. And the only reason Wonder Woman worked is because of Zack and Alan Heinberg's work on the movie, and not Patty Jenkins. I keep on saying it. Patty Jenkins couldn't direct traffic. We saw the car crash she created and John's created with Wonder Woman 84. John, do you think people are not that interested in superhero movies anymore? I think generally, John, they're not, but people will always consume good shit. That's why they're watching Across the Spider-Verse. That's why James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 keeps on making good box office with big holds and small drops. McRib Prime, Low Aquaman 2 is going to flop harder than a turd into a fish tank. And Superman Legacy, unless it's $100 million budget, don't expect profit. Waz 007, Warner Brothers Discovery, I need sold soon possible. James are crap. DC, Marvel, and superhero movies are dead. Not necessarily. The Joker 2 will make money. Batman 2 will make money because they are definitive visions. Those type of movies, I believe, are the future. But going back to the DCEU and why it failed, we have to concede without any delusion that the past 6 DCEU movies have flopped terribly. Not even 500 million at the global box office. I don't see the Flash movie making even 500 million at the global box office. And you have to ask the question, why? This all came after Zack Snyder left and many, faulted attempts to restart the franchise because they were trying to recycle a franchise that somebody else started instead of starting from scratch. But the better idea was to stick with Snyder until Justice League 3, Affleck's The Batman, and the Man of Steel sequel, which I believe originally was going to come instead of BVS. Snyder were game for that. Nolan and Goyer were working on that. They dumped Goyer's script. He did write a script, which he's credited for in BVS, but actually the writer of BVS rewrote the whole thing, right? The Australian guy. So that's what happened. Change after change after change. And people have just got fed up with their bullshit, with the changes. Even the people who don't like what Snyder did can see the big mistakes. Why are the general audience saying no? They know what they did to a director who lost his daughter via suicide. Ultimately, the general audience are populated with good people, with moral people. They see people like Leslie Grace being treated like shit. People like Sasha Calais having her role in a film cut to the bare bones. A good person like Andy Muschietti having his movie unfinished, edited poorly, and being made like a muppet. Waz 007, not that one. McRib Prime, it needs 850 million to break even. It's not going to. Waz 007, why DCU flop? Because Rush. Hunter Iggy, what's up? Hello, Hunter. McRib Prime, BVS Ultimate Edition is such a great movie. I agree. But the theatrical was terrible. I don't agree with that. I don't think it was that bad at all. Stop interfering with genius. Year Art 9, well, that's going to be a hard one to do. I'm just going to call you Y. There is too many jokes in DC movies that somehow are problem, and jokes they're basically DC Comics things. Well, listen, why? Humor's fine if you're funny. Like the lasso gag is only funny because it's embarrassing and it's lame. It's not funny as it's intended to be. It looks bad. It looks embarrassing. It's horrible. They don't know how to do humor. And they don't know how to make movies for general audiences, right? And basically, as I say, they took somebody else's vision and kept on trying to recycle it. If you don't want the Snyderverse, start again at the very least. Start again and do something original of your own. They probably would have been further along and more successful if they did that. McRib Prime, get some likes in here, team. Thank you, McRib Prime. James and Crap, my superhero Spider-Man, Hulk 4, Iron Man, X-Man, Fantastic Four have been ruined by their woke agenda. Why? Jesse Eisenberg is a terrible Lex, and I agreed with Michael Rosenbaum. Right, I don't believe that Eisenberg is a terrible Lex. Eisenberg is one of the best indie actors out there. I like what he did. I would never have cast Eisenberg, never in a month of Sundays, but I think calling him a terrible Lex is a bit wide of the mark. Obviously, Rosenbaum is my favourite Lex. Waz 007, I hear that. The Flash, low opening. That's right, Waz. It's common knowledge now, my friend. So everyone's asking what went wrong, and it's yet another movie. It's the 6th movie to fail, and this is the end of the DCEU. That's the thing now. It is finished, and, you know, they're going to do something new. But Rip Prime, Flash opening does put a smile on my face, lol. So none of this really means that Snyder's coming back. Ironically, Snyder has been promoting Rebel Moon. I saw a beautiful sizzle reel with beautiful presentation, the stark opposite of the trailers we saw for the Flash movie. That's interesting, right? Hunter Ricky, do you know who trying to ruin Andy movie? And if it's not James Gunn or Peter Safran, look, I don't know what happened, Hunter. I don't understand what happened. It looks like a movie that ran out of money. That's what it looks like to me. The VFX is unfinished. It just looks like a movie that's been splurged out. It's a very strange situation. Ben Affleck isn't credited at the end of the movie. Again, very sloppy and very weird. And clearly, the James Gunn written, ending is terrible. 3 alternate endings. One they showed us. Gal Gadot and Henry Cavill, Superman and Wonder Woman standing together. Imagine not wanting to do that. But the original ending was Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne and Sasha Calle as Kara Zor-El, which would have been acceptable as well. But they cut all of that out. Now, let's get it right. No matter what the ending of this film was, it never was going to be improved. And what's ironic is this movie failed for so many reasons, but the one reason it didn't fail isn't because Ezra Miller. So if you think that, it's false. This movie would have failed if, Ezra Miller was a choir boy or a choir they then. Marie Prime ran out of money, lol. 350 million spent on it, lol. Oh my days, if that's true. But I'm telling you, McRib Prime, that's what it looks like to me. Because when you've got an unfinished movie and you're releasing it, there must be a reason, right? So you're quoting money that you've heard on the internet. I don't know how much it cost. Waz 007, I agree with you, Mick, run out of money. That's what it looks like to me. And as I say, I can only give you my experience of this game, of this industry. I don't know everything. I'm not God. I'm not always right, but I'm sitting on this chair. My name's on the door, and all I can do is try and explain the situation. But it's a complex one. And there's not one reason why this franchise never worked. There's not one reason, right? But getting rid of Snyder created a big problem. Because forget the loud mouths on the internet that keep on bad-mouthing Gunn and all of that. The loud Snyder fans, forget them. Because there's mass boycotts on these movies happening. But the Snyder fans and the other people boycotting these movies won't be boycotting Joker 2 or the Batman 2. That's interesting, isn't it? So to be flopping for 6 movies in a row, to bomb at the global box office, there must be huge boycotts. That's the only thing that can explain this situation. And the boycotts come from because of the handling of the first few movies, the interference, the way they tried to lie and say Zack Snyder left because of the suicide of his daughter. How do you use a man's daughter's suicide to try and justify your incompetence? It's disgusting. And anyone trying to defend that is a problem, and I'm waving a red flag at you. Hunter Ricky, and Andy said that he had a 4-hour and a 30 minutes movie. Yet don't forget, directors have multiple cuts for movies. So because they want options, that's why they take lots of different angles and all of that. McRib Prime, higher or lower than 160 million worldwide opening? Place your bets. Lower. 130 million opening, I think. I could be wrong. Listen, I'm not a box office analyst or expert. I'm going to be clear, but I know what's good and I know what's bad. This is bad. Let's look at the box office from the beginning. I'm not going to list them all, but basically 650 for a Superman movie wasn't great. But then 850 for a Batman and a Superman movie wasn't great either, but it was an improvement on Man of Steel. The Suicide Squad movie, the first one, improved even more, nearly 800 million. Wonder Woman improved again with just over 800 million. It was only Justice League. Justice League was the first flop in that franchise. If not for their interference, we wouldn't be here now. Why? DCEU failed because their tone doesn't match the comics. I'm ready to move from DCEU to get better movies, not terrible movies. Well, again, why? I don't agree with that. I don't believe it's anything to do with the tone. Because Snyder, as I say, was creating an alternative to the MCU. And the only tone isn't splurging out bright colors, cameos, Easter eggs, and gags. We would, at DC, basically all the Marvel fans and the general audience would have said, you're just copying Marvel. That's why they were doing something different. And if people were patient, they would have really loved what was being done. No patience from the fans because everyone wanted to have the same size Willy as Marvel did. And that's the problem. Where's 007? What to happen, Joss Whedon? McRib Prime, that would mean it makes roughly $380 million worldwide, entire 5-week run. Yeah, and don't forget, Into the Spider-Verse is still making money. Indy's coming out. That won't make a lot of money, but that's going to get in the way of The Flash making anything substantial. Not that it ever was anyway. James of Crap, Spider-Man, Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, and Man, Fantastic Four comic movies don't sell. Where's 007? I know Joss Whedon. What time finished Justice League? McRib Prime. Mate, MOS was incredible and in line with DC animation and graphic novels. And his Snyder Cut and BVS was ripped straight out of graphic novel. I agree with you. Because we know there's versions of comics where, the Kryptonians clone their people, right? We know all of that. It was all based from the comics, right? But this is the problem. One of the problems DC had from the very beginning, that Avengers in the MCU was the darling of the audience. And whether DC did the same thing or an alternative, they were always going to be hated for not being Marvel. That was the pinnacle problem. It's like Nixon. He always used to say, why does everyone hate me but love Kennedy? Kennedy's good looking. He's a smooth talker. He wasn't a very nice man, by the way, Kennedy. But anyway, people liked him because he was a smooth talker. And it's the same with the MCU and the DCEU. Because Zack Snyder's rough and ready. He calls it how it is. I'm going to make the movie I want to make. I'm here for my fans. I don't care about the general audience. He says it as he saw it. He wasn't trying to charm the audience. That's the difference. BVS was a great movie. But a BVS marketed WWE Brawl movie wasn't what was needed after Man of Steel. I'm happy with what Zack did with that movie, but it shouldn't have been a Batman versus Superman movie. The original plan was for a Man of Steel sequel. McRib Prime, purely my opinion, but the Snyder trilogy was, why is 007 Joss Whedon won't make Batgirl in the past? He did. McRib Prime, MOS, BVS, and Snyder Cut for me is the greatest superhero trilogy ever made. Purely my opinion, hate not needed. Well, listen, McRib Prime, I'm not part of this generation. It's the bestest thing. It's better than this. It's better than that. I'm not interested in that. I love Zack's 3 movies, but I'm not going to sit here and say they're the bestest ever because then I upset someone who likes something else. I don't think they're the bestest ever. I think they're great, and they don't have to. Nothing has to be the bestest ever because then you've got Tim Burton's movies, you've got the Dark Knight trilogy. They've all got a place, and I love all of these movies. Joker, Reeves's movie. I love them all. And I don't measure them. I'm not. The problem is with this kind of sporting fandom in entertainment today, everyone starts getting a tape measure to measure their willies. That is the problem I find. I find it off-putting. It's like when girls send me DMs and say, how big is it? Well, I've never measured it. Why haven't you measured it? Look, love, If you want to see how big it is, I'll just show it to you, right? End of story. Then there could be no bloody arguments. But there's too much of this competitiveness, this crowd jeering. You go to San Diego Comic-Con, you get all this, yeah, we won! What did you win, you twats? It's a film. It's a TV show. Let's just enjoy our entertainment. Nothing has to be the bestest ever. Everyone has their own point of view on what they love. And what you love is the best. But it's not universally the best. Waz007, Joss Whedon, what mate back gun? I read that. James Gunn needs to go. Why? I'm ready to move on from the DCEU to get good movies, but how do you know you're going to get good movies? I'm going to judge as I consume. I'm open-minded about what Gunn's doing, but I'm not just going to sit here and say it's going to be better because it's going to be better. There's no logic in that. Why? Waz007, Wonder Woman was banned Lebanon, LA because Gal. So Gal may be leaving as Wonder Woman. I've had a hunch about this for a very long time. She says she's empowered with the new direction since Wonder Woman 3 has been cancelled. I've got a feeling she won't be back again. But both of her cameos in Fury of the Gods and in the Flash movie were terrible and weren't the Wonder Woman I adored in BVS or the Wonder Woman movie. It's more of the Wonder Woman 84 colourful vibe. Smug smile and don't work for me. It's shit. Waz007 Mixie have been Beacon Comic, but Rib Prime. I think WBD have a very serious problem now. Not sure how on earth they get out of this. Hopefully, they lease the characters out to Netflix or Amazon. Here's the thing with Rib Prime. You're correct. They have huge problems, but leasing the characters out only works if they're leasing them out to a company that wants to do something special with them. I don't want them leased somewhere else to have the similar or a worse calamity going on. I don't trust creatives in Hollywood anymore. Waz007 Mick, have I been to Comic-Con? No. If I can avoid America these days, I will. Sandra Jamie Hughes, it's obvious she was done if Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck were done. Wasn't that obvious at all? But that's what I've been saying from the very, very beginning anyway. So it does look like she's done, but they haven't announced it yet. James Gunn actually denies she's done, Sam. But, so if you're wondering why the DCEU is a clusterfuck and never worked from the beginning, number one, the MCU was the darling of the audience. If we copied them, we would have been accused of being an inferior copy. And we tried to do the alternative and people still didn't like it. Why can't you be like the MCU? We came after the MCU. That was the problem. But if the studio just allowed Zack to do his thing, it would have been fine. Patience was needed and they didn't have that patience. And now look at them now. Basically releasing inferior movies, unfinished movies, not crediting actors in the credits, chopping a director's vision to pieces. Again, they've done it with Andy's movie, cutting Sasha Calais scenes out. Sasha's already admitted that there's more scenes that were in the movie. James Crap, my review, Aaron Fisher says that they have a plan B. Waz007, James Gunn need full reboot for DC films. Same as reviews. The DCU was a mess because Zack and WB couldn't agree on anything. They couldn't agree. Yes, that's my point, Sam. They were interfering with his plan and they were wrong. That's the problem. But Rib Prime, DC have never been Marvel. DC have always been grounded and gritty. That's something has been grounded that gritty. That's something none of the executives got at WB or now at WBD. Well, listen. You do not copy and paste things anyway. Snyder had an idea. They started with Snyder. They had to finish with Snyder. But they were understandably worried after the MOS box office, after the BVS box office and reaction. I can understand from their point of view why they were very, very concerned. But they didn't react to these problems in the right way. But Rib Prime, Plan B, do tell. Waz007, I think Plan B, sell DC. Listen, Their plan B at the moment is James Gunn stuff. That's their plan B. Can he pull it off? That's the big question. You know, the teasing of the comic book panels, as I keep on saying, and the talk and this and that can only take him thus far. Does he have a plan? Is he just a bullshitter? We're going to have to wait and see. He's made some very good comic book content, but this is beyond making good comic book content. He's got a world build. He's got to create something here. But Rip Prime Low, the shareholder might demand that becomes plan A. I don't know what's going to happen. But at this moment in time, James Gunn is doing this soft reboot. Why? Red Prime DC has comics are always been silly. Well, no, there's a mixture of comics, actually. Why? There's some gritty ones, there's some colourful ones, there's some light ones. Actually, there's a lot of variety at DC. It's neither gritty, it's neither just gritty and dark and brutal, or just light and silly. There's different stuff out there. But when you adapt things, you can do things in a darker way if you want to. And that's what Zack Snyder was doing. And ultimately, right, it didn't start off too well in terms of reviews and box office. I don't understand why critics look at Man of Steel and don't like it. I don't understand how they look at Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice from my point of view and not like it. I don't understand that. And they loved Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman has a lot of dark moments. I mean, Wonder Woman's killing people left, right, and center in that movie, and they're fine with it. So the inconsistency from these corrupt critics is amazing, because ultimately Marvel were the darling of the critics and they wanted DC to do the same as they were. But if they did, they would have been accused of an inferior copy. Why is 007 Transformers and G.I. Joe crossover? Not my expertise, mate, those IPs, so I can't help you. This is the DC Universe Daily. We could talk about other stuff in my evening random chat. Generally, we can have a chat, but here we're talking about DC. And we're talking about I was going to say we're talking about the rise and fall of the DCEU. There's never been a rise of the DCEU. It's always been a fall and fall. But there you go. At least Marvel fans can say, well, we remember the glory days. We really never had any glory days in terms of reviews consistently or box office consistently. And a lot of fans are interested in the Willie measuring. James of Crap, no, it's not my review. Aaron Fisher says plan B is to bring back the Snyderverse. Well, I think that's wishful thinking personally. Maria Prime, done right, yeah, could be awesome. Rise of the Beast sets it up and the next movie is now green lit. That is correct. That is correct. I mean, Transformers will always make money. So, you know, but as we were speaking about before I went live on air, the less humans, the better. You could make a Transformers movie without humans. It'd probably make the most money any Transformers film ever made. You don't need people in Transformers movies. You don't. You can be on another planet. You can be on their planet. If it still exists, I think it was destroyed. I don't know. Anyway. I mean, you could do really awesome movies. So forget human beings, right? But going back to DC, that is how it all was ruined because it was mismanagement, interfering. Corporate interference is the biggest reason. And the reason that this Flash movie is sloppy, unfinished, badly presented is because of the corporate entity. This is not Andy Muschietti's movie, but they bribed him with the hush money, which, as we keep on saying, is brave and the bold. He wasn't always the one they were going to get direct the movie. I know they wanted Ben Affleck. He said no. A24 director. He said no, right? So Gunn's saying, you know, it was always going to be Andy. Nah, you're lying. I don't believe what you're saying. All due respect to you. That is my opinion. But Red Prime Transformers 1, next year animated movie in the style of ILM, classic animation. Sounds exciting. Sounds exciting. And so, you know, like you can't, there's a lot of experts on the internet who think they know why the Flash movie didn't make money. There's a lot of people in denial. And this happens after every DCEU movie. It's the divide. Our fandom is so divided. And it's so perilous to see the arguments, McRib Prime is very, very happy. McRib Prime, no humans love. Yeah, I think that would be the best movie. Why do you need human beings in a Transformers movie? I mean, a lot of them talk, don't they? Why do you need human beings? DC Superfan, morning Mick. How's the weekend going? Very well, DC Superfan. Great to have you on Sunday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. And we're talking about the rise and fall of the DC Extended Universe. So, yeah, as I say, there's lots of big heads, lots of know-alls saying, well, it's because of this. Oh, it's because of that. It's because, look, you don't know what you're talking about. It's not black and white. These things are never black and white because there's chapters, there's moments that they could have saved this franchise. Allowing Snyder to finish his arc, that would have saved this franchise. Once they got rid of Snyder, they should have publicly announced, honestly, that they had creative differences and started from scratch after BVS and did their own thing. If they wanted Whedon and Jeff Johns, do it, but start again. And that is the problem. And this is where they went wrong. There's several moments they could have saved this franchise. But the thing that would have really have succeeded in is Snyder's type of Lord of the Rings world building. And by the time we got to the end of his first path, I think people, generally, even the people who didn't like it originally, would have come to terms with it. But there was no patience because everyone wanted to be able to brag against Marvel fans. And that's where we are now. Now, there's no bragging rights. There will never be any bragging rights, when we talk about the DCEU versus the MCU. But Red Prime Extraction 2, people see it's freaking awesome. A different movie to the first, but still the same magic. Yes, Netflix are certainly winning the streaming war. Why? Wonder Woman is a warrior. Her killing people is fine. Doesn't hurt her character. I know. I agree. Waz 007, Mick, was B. Christopher Reeve's Superman 5 film? Yes, he nearly made a fifth Superman film. Probably for the best he didn't after Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. But yeah, it was really, really sad actually, because I would have loved that fifth film. I remember Barry Norman talking about it on his film show. But yeah, that wasn't to be. But this is why we are where we are now. And I mean, the opening that's coming in for The Flash, we're talking about that. This is them, not me. They're the ones saying the hype is real, the best film since The Dark Knight, the best film since Superman the movie. Well, surely, if that's true, it should have opened to 200 million domestically and 500 million globally. Shouldn't it? You lied. You lied about the quality of this movie. The VFX is shit. That's not me trying to be toxic. It is terrible. It is embarrassing. The humor is embarrassing. It simply doesn't work. Babies being chucked out of a bloody hospital is not funny. It isn't funny. Even in the woke world we live in today, babies being chucked from a building is not funny. James of Crap, I hope Sony buys Spider-Man, Hulk, 4 Iron Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four, movies, comics, and toys. So they're your reasons. There's no one reason. There are many reasons the DCEU failed and has continued to fail. And there's no celebration because the DCEU is officially finished. The Flash movie was the last movie in the DCEU. And now Blue Beetle has got his plastic surgery. All of a sudden, it's not a DCEU new timeline. It's part of James Gunn's new plan. Isn't that nice? Part of the new plans. Trilogy planned, according to the director. I hope it succeeds for them. I hope Blue Beetle is a good movie because it's supposed to be the first movie in the new franchise. Then we've got Waller. Then we've got his little team, which is animated. Then we've got Superman Legacy. And, then we've got the Authority. So I hope, all these things like Swamp Thing and Superman Legacy, let's hope this is the beginning of a new beginning. But I think we've been let down so many times. It's really, really difficult to have any faith in anyone who comes in to change this. Waz 007, Images Christopher Reeve, Superman and Michael Keaton Batman team up. Would have been fun. Oh, what might have been. But really, Nicolas Cage would have been Michael Keaton's Superman if that film was allowed to happen. In fact, it would have been really cool after Michael Keaton dies in the Nicolas Cage sequence if we see Keaton's Batman and Cage standing together like Superman and Supergirl were. It's a shame they didn't do that. That would have been damn awesome if you ask me. Smash a like if you think that would have been awesome. Let me know what you think about that one. But I like the Nick Cage cameo. The film wasn't trash at the end of the day, but audiences said no. Was 007 and Christopher Reeve Superman alive? He would Arrowverse crossover. Well, I don't know. He was in Smallville, though. Why? I'm ready to move on from the Snyderverse. Listen, whether we're ready to move on from the Snyderverse or not, why? At the end of the day, that's what's happening. It's done. The Snyderverse has been over for a long time, and the Flash movie has nothing to do with the Snyderverse, as far as I'm concerned. The Snyderverse, as Zach's told us, is 3 movies. Man of Steel, BVS, and the Snyder Cut. That's it. After that, it's all done at the end of the day. SLCA, hi, good morning. Welcome to Movies TV Mad and Sunday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. SLCA. Some very interesting names coming up. James of Crap, Warner Brothers Discovery ruined BVS, Suicide Squad 2016, Justice League 2017, and Birds of Prey. Well, Birds of Prey would have been ruined, James, whatever they did, because it was being pushed by an extremist feminist, third-wave feminist called Margot Robbie. She ruined that movie, and then she just threw the director under the bus, who was also an extremist. Was 007. McRib Prime, about to roll out. Take it easy, Mick. DC team, catch you later. See you later, McRib Prime. Thank you for taking part in the show. Was 007. Maybe Nick Cage, Superman, might back in future. That would be awesome. I would love to see that, but in a full adventure. Maybe we'll see him, Henry Cavill, Brandon Routh, and Tyler Hoechlin in Superman Legacy alongside new Superman. Maybe Superman Legacy is a multiversal story. Wouldn't that be awesome? Although this entry into the multiverse for The Flash hasn't exactly set the box office alight. I think maybe people are starting to say they're fed up of the multiverse. I think you can do the multiverse well. I think there's very interesting, basic ways you can do the multiverse. It's all about execution. It's not about being fed up of things. You do a good version of something, right? And people will be excited. People didn't like Doctor Who, the movie, starring Paul McGann. But then Russell T Davies came in and revived it and, breathed fresh air onto the franchise, and the world was watching. And so it's all about execution at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, the DCEU came in a different way to Marvel. And that was a problem to the audience, because a lot of the audience wanted Marvel copied and pasted. And someone came in and did something different. Now, luckily for me, I love Snyder's 3 movies. So I'm lucky. Blue Beetle Animator. Good morning, chat. Good morning, Mick. Morning, Blue Beetle Animator. How are you on this Sunday morning? James of Crap ranked all 4 Snyderverse movies worst to best. What 4 Snyderverse movies? If you're including Wonder Woman, that mainly, apart from the third act, is a Snyder movie. But really, Zack sees his 3 movies as his 3 movies. I don't do worst to best. I certainly wouldn't do worst to best about Snyder's movies. This is another thing this generation does that I hate. So basically, for me, I don't really know what I put first. Sometimes it's Man of Steel, sometimes it's a Snyder Cut, sometimes it's BVS. You can put them in a hat and put them in any order. It doesn't matter. They're all just fantastic movies in presentation. They're compelling. The score's always beautiful. They work. But one thing's for sure, The Flash will never be in my top 5 DCEU ranking. So let's just try and guess. I can't remember all the DCEU movies at this point, but let's try it. So let's just say in order of release, Man of Steel number 1, BVS number 2, The Snyder Cut number 3, Wonder Woman number 4, Aquaman number 5. The Flash is never getting in my top 5. Then I'd have to grab the Blu-rays to do the rest. But that's my top 5, and I'm being consistent there. James of Crap with SS 2016. Well, that would have been part of the Snyderverse, although it depends if you call Snyderverse something that's actually directed by Zack Snyder. Blue Beetle Animator. I find confusing why they didn't use old and dead actors Let me say that again. I find confusing why they didn't use old and dead actors for cameos when we could have had Brandon Routh or Tyler Hoechlin or Melissa Benoist. Well, let me explain to you, right? Christopher Reeve is an iconic Superman. They're not going to put Brandon Routh in his place. There's no way they're going to do that. This is another problem with this generation. It's if or all. Why can't you have Christopher Reeve and Brandon Routh, right? That's fine. But there's only so many cameos you can do, Blue Bee, to animator as well. But I'm not having, I don't see how you have Brandon Routh, an inferior version of Superman to Christopher Reeve. I think that's fair to say. I love Brandon. I love Superman Returns, warts and all. But you can't replace Christopher Reeve with Brandon Routh, even though they tried. Blue Bee to animator. I'm doing fine. Just graduated high school. Congratulations. I'm actually trying to get into VFX school. Well, Blue Bee to animator, they bloody well need you. But they're going to treat you like a slave, as you've seen. They treat these people badly. The best thing to do, get into VFX. Do your own content. Don't work for Hollywood. Don't work for other companies. Create your own company. There's the technology now with TikTok and YouTube where you can do your own stuff, make your own movies. Who knows? Maybe we can team up and do something together. But I wouldn't work for big companies. Do your own thing. So where am I? Waz 007. Batman and Robin better than Superman Return. Oh, no. Oh, no. No. I'm not. Waz, I love you, dude. But I'm not having that. No way. No way. But it's all subjective, of course. But no way am I having that. No way whatsoever. Jesus Christ, Waz. Now, that's a hot take. That's a crazy hot take. That's absolutely nuts. But yeah, there's no secret to what went wrong with the DCEU. But I think people ride on agendas. And, well, if this happened or that happened, at the end of the day, the one logical thing you've got to remember, this is the 6th DC Extended Universe movie to fail. Some in the pandemic, but most of them outside of the pandemic. And it hasn't gotten better. There's people trying to blame the pandemic for low box office even now. And no, it's not the pandemic's fault that the box office is pretty low. It's because of Hollywood. It's because of their political propaganda, getting triggered by a short, fat guy with orange hair, who I don't particularly like either. But if I was running an industry, he wouldn't make my decisions for me through my hatred for him. James and Crap, I love We Get Man of Steel, excited cut, SS, the air cut, we excited cut, and recuts of BVS and Justice League. Hon Mark Fan, it's nice to see Batman, Flash, and Wonder Woman in the Flash movie. I just hope they were in the movie longer. What do you think about the cameo? Well, Hon Mar Fam, I'm going to tell you the truth. I didn't like Wonder Woman's cameo in Shazam Fury of the Gods. And I liked her even less in the Flash movie. That's not the Wonder Woman I like. I like the Wonder Woman in BVS, in the Wonder Woman movie, in the Snyder Cut. Brilliant. But this bright-coloured, smiley Wonder Woman, smug-looking Wonder Woman, nah, I could have done without her. I didn't like Batfleck's costume. I thought it was messy. I thought the action scenes were directed well. But when Affleck was talking to Barry, I just think he was honing it in. And I think at that time, he'd only just got over his alcoholism, just got out of hospital, I think. And I think he was still recovering. So, yeah, it wasn't great. Those cameos weren't great for me. Blue Bee to animator. I've always wanted to work for DC movies and animators ever since I was little. Justice League Unlimited with my older brother. Well, listen, you're probably a very talented lad. But you just got to remember, once you get swallowed up by these big companies, you're just a number. And sadly, even though we all love DC, they're bastards. And they're going to treat you badly, and you're just going to get fed up with them. But if that's what you want to do with your life, I wish you all the luck in the world. But if I had your ability and I knew how to do VFX, and considering I know how to act and do other things, I would literally be doing my own shit. I would be doing my own shit and pitching it or creating my own production company. I like working for myself, and I would never allow these people to swallow me up, because at the end of the day, Blue Beetle Animator, these are not good people. Waz 007, Did like Wonder Woman TV show. Why? She's basically the same Wonder Woman. She's not, though. She's supposed to be the same Wonder Woman, but she acts differently. It doesn't work for me. It just doesn't work for me. She doesn't seem the same to me anyway. It's all about opinions, isn't it? Waz007, Wonder Woman Linda Carter is better than Gal. Nah. The only thing I liked about Linda Carter's Wonder Woman was when she used to run and her breasts used to move. And that was, I'm being honest, yeah, I know that's a out of order thing to say, but I just think she was a first truck in the 80s and the 70s. She wasn't a great Wonder Woman. She wasn't a great actor. And I didn't get much from that show. And Gal is a much better Wonder Woman than her, in my opinion. Again, it's all about opinions. But yeah, Linda Carter has never done much for me. And yeah, I'm so happy we didn't get Wonder Woman 3 because it was going to be shit like Wonder Woman 84 was. And one good decision James Gunn made and Zaslav made. None of that. So yes, we put our faith in James Gunn now. I'm very weary with DC. It's been a tough journey. It's the divide, the toxicity. It's very difficult. People have got different agendas and it's difficult. But at the end of the day, people are enjoying the failure of this movie. Some aren't and some are. That's a shame. I take no pleasure. I want to be clear here so there's no misunderstandings. I take no pleasure from any DC movie failing. I root for them. I want them to do well. I never encourage people to boycott. I say, if you want to boycott, that's up to you. If you want to support a movie, that's up to you. I'm not a bloody dictator at the end of the day. So I'm not happy this movie has failed because it's a half-solid movie. But the general audience, yet again, have said no to the DCEU. It's not the DC fans, and I'm not talking about Snyder fans, who I know do mass boycotts, but like the other DC fans, the enthusiastic, hardcore DC fans, always support these movies, and they're very pure in their love for DC. So with James Gunn, something has to change. These audiences, the general audiences, have to come out and start supporting these movies. The thing is, James Gunn told the general audience, go and watch the Flash movie. It's great. It's one of the best CBMs I've ever seen. And they ignored him. So can he convince a new general audience to support his vision and his Superman movie? It's going to be very, very interesting. SLCA, any new Superman Legacy rumors? All I can tell you that late yesterday, the Hollywood Reporter was reporting that James Gunn was auditioning the last kind of people that he's whittled down to play Superman and Lois in the Warner Brothers lot. So they were auditioning some people. It's the names they've been leaking out. I can't remember the names now. One of them is David Corran Swept, I think. But we will see. I still think I don't believe the leaks, and I think we could be getting people that we don't expect in these roles. I would say, where are we now? We're in June. Maybe we'll have some news during Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con. I will be covering that. I won't be at San Diego Comic-Con, but when the DC convention, when there's a DC panel, I will be live so we can cover that. So it's important to keep it here because not have a laugh and banter and talk about DC and entertainment in general. We're going to be covering the main news, but I'm not a robot. I'm not just going to say the news and then not say anything else. It's all about opinion on this channel. So, James are crap. DCEU box set with Man of Steel. Damn, you're obsessed. BVS, SS, The Haircut, Wonder Woman, Zack Snyder's Justice League, Aquaman, and Black Adam. And with Rock, but not be Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman 84 or Justice League. I agree with that. I think I did really well translating that. I must admit, I'm pretty good in it. Maybe I can actually see through what people are meaning. I thought I did really, really well there. So that's really, really good. So you're lucky, you know, you're lucky I read your stuff. You'll get charged to get this stuff read out other places. Then again, you'll get more of an audience of your comments. That's up to you, isn't it? If you want to come here, if you want to be part of a small community, you're very much welcome. If you have an ego and you want 100,000 people to, you know, hear and read what you've got to say, then you have to go elsewhere. Depends what you prefer at the end of the day. I try and give you genuine opinions. I talk about the news. We mainly talk about DC, but I am interested in branching out to other entertainment as well, because I think The DC conversation is dying out a little bit. That's why I want to talk about all different types of entertainment that interests me, older entertainment, the TV shows I grew up with, TV shows from the early noughties, my favorite movies, get a few new presenters on the channel as well. That will be fun. Waz007, thanks, live stream. You are very, very welcome. I'm here twice a day. We're here in around 10 a.m. in the morning UK time for the DC Universe Daily, my daily magazine show, telling you the DCU headlines, but also giving you my opinion of those headlines and talking about a few other things at the same time. And in the evening, we have a random live chat where we can talk about anything, not just DC, anything in entertainment you want to talk about. And that's what we do on this channel. I'm going to stick around for another 5 minutes. So basically, there's no headlines today. I just thought today's show should be kind of my 2 pennies worth about how the DCEU was ruined, how it failed, how we've got the 6th box office bomb in a row from the DCEU. Waz007 can team up Aaron Fishing. No, I don't want to team up with Aaron Fisher. James O'Crap, do you could talk about Marvel? Would I talk about Marvel? If you want to talk about Marvel every evening when I do my second video of the day, we could talk about Marvel. You bring it up. I won't bring it up. But if you want to ask me questions about Marvel in the second video of the day, when it's not just about DC, that's fine. This magazine show is basically about the DC headlines, reacting to them, talking about DC. That's why it's called the DC Universe Daily. So obviously, I'm not going to talk about Marvel when I call it the DC Universe Daily. But in the evening, well, we're just having a random chat. Absolutely. I'll be willing to talk about Marvel, Transformers, anything you want to talk about. Lord of the Rings, anything. Your favorite soaps, as long as they're not American soaps, because I don't watch them. I watch British ones. So, yeah, that's why I'm happy. I'm happy to talk about anything in the second video of the day. And this is our DCU magazine show, and we talk about what's going on. And what's going on in DC right now is the latest film has bombed, and we're going to have to move the conversation on eventually in, one of my live videos to Blue Beetle. What will that film mean next? Is it another bomb? Can it succeed? Will Zolo Maradona be able to attract more of an audience to this film? What would this film do? We know it originally was going to cameo Michael Keaton's Batman. Clearly, maybe, probably, who flipping knows at this point, they're probably not going to have that cameo. But maybe we'll get another Batman. Maybe George Clooney's Batman will be in. But that's the evidence. Will we see, if we see George Clooney's Batman in this universe, then George Clooney is obviously the next Batman. And probably we'll have maybe Bruce Wayne's son as the next Batman. Maybe. And maybe Damian Wayne is the son of the son. Who knows what James Gunn is planning? And it's very exciting. James O'Crap, I am asleep. All right, good night, mate. Too early for me to sleep. It's what time? It's 1 p.m. It's 21 minutes past 1 p.m. It's lunchtime here in Cyprus. So we all come from different parts of the world, which is a lot of fun. I'm in Cyprus. I'm originally from the United Kingdom, but I've been living here since 2013. But I am British. I'm British born. But my parents were Greek Cypriot, who are sadly no longer with us anymore. So that's my DNA, but I feel British because I was born and bred in the UK. I'm very proud to be British, very proud to have a British passport, and there you have it. Waz007, 11:22 a.m. in England. That's right, that's the time. 2 hours difference, my friend, 2 hours difference, not so bad at all. So basically, the main talking point today was to have this analysis in why the DCEU failed, why the Flash failed. I mean, really, we haven't really got into why the Flash movie failed. Maybe I'll get into that conversation tonight on the second show, because we talked about the DCEU failing in general, but why did the Flash movie fail? Why didn't the general audience support it? Is it the same reasoning as the other DCEU movies flopping, or are there deeper reasons? We will get into it in tonight's second video. This has been Movies TV Mad and Sunday's edition of the DC Universe Daily with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wife. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. Smash the like button if you love me. Subscribe if you're new. Please have your say. Don't forget, around 8 p.m. UK time, I will be back with our general chit chat. I'll be live for around 2 hours as I normally am. So until I see you tonight, and I'm going to miss you deeply, I enjoy these chats. See you tonight. Goodbye. Au revoir. Auf Wiedersehen. See you later. Thank you very much, everyone. It's been another fine live stream. See you later. Remember, I am on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. SLCA, bye. Goodbye. See you tonight if you check me out. If you don't, you're going to miss out. See you later.